The sun had barely risen over the jagged peaks of the abandoned city when Kieran stepped carefully through the cracked streets. Rusted machines and collapsed buildings littered the landscape, remnants of a civilization long gone. The air was thick with dust and the faint smell of burning metal, evidence of old fires that had consumed entire factories decades ago. But Kieran wasn't here to admire ruins. He was searching for survivors, or anything worth salvaging. Kieran had learned to move quietly, to notice small signs that others might leave behind. Footprints in dust, scraps of fabric, even the faint warmth of a recently extinguished fire could tell him someone had passed by. Today, the trail was faint. He followed it anyway, hoping he wouldn't be too late, and then he saw her. She crouched near the edge of a collapsed building, her small frame shaking. Her clothes were torn and caked in dirt, her hair matted and wild. Her eyes, wide and fearful, reflected the faint morning light. For a moment she didn't move, just stared at him. People in his world often avoided her kind. Those who had seen her before whispered cruel words, too dirty to touch it, too wild, better left alone. But Kieran didn't hesitate. He crouched to her level and spoke softly. "Hey, it's okay. I won't hurt you." The girl flinched but didn't run. She seemed to sense something different about him, something kind and patient that the others lacked. Kieran noticed how small and fragile she seemed, yet there was a spark in her eyes, a flicker of curiosity and defiance. "My name is Kieran," he said, reaching into his pack and pulling out a clean water bottle. "Do you want some water?" She hesitated. Kieran didn't push. Slowly, she shuffled forward and took the bottle with trembling hands. She drank greedily, spilling some on her dirt-covered hands, but she didn't drop it. That cautious trust was the first step. Kieran noticed how filthy she was. Her clothes were torn, her skin scratched and smudged with soot, and her hair was a tangled mess. But to him, it didn't matter. He saw only a person in need of help. "You must be tired and hungry," he said gently. "I can help with that." The girl looked at him, hesitant. I don't have a name," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "Then I'll give you one," Kieran said, smiling. "How about Leora? It means light." Her eyes widened, and for the first time a small smile appeared on her face. Leora. The word seemed foreign yet comforting to her. She repeated it softly, as if testing it on her tongue. "Leora. Yes," Kieran said. "That's your name, Leora." It was a small moment, but for her it felt monumental. Names gave identity, they gave a sense of belonging. And Leora had never had that. Kieran looked around the ruined streets. "We need to get you cleaned up," he said. "There's a stream nearby. I can help you wash, and then we'll find some food." At first, Leora shook her head, retreating slightly. But Kieran knelt down again, keeping his tone gentle. "It'll feel better. You don't have to be afraid." Eventually, she nodded slightly, allowing him to guide her through the debris. The journey was slow. She stumbled over broken concrete and jagged metal, but Kieran supported her. Along the way, he talked to her, not to rush her, but to keep her calm. He told her stories of the world beyond the ruins, of forests and rivers that ran clear and fresh, of people who were kind and helpful. Leora listened quietly, occasionally asking questions, her curiosity slowly awakening. When they reached the stream, the water glistened in the sunlight. Kieran knelt by the edge and tested the temperature. "Good," he said. "Not too cold." He helped Leora step into the shallow water. At first, she hesitated, then slowly began to wash away the layers of dirt that had clung to her for so long. She scrubbed cautiously, unsure how to move, but Kieran guided her patiently, showing her how to rinse her hair and clothes. He laughed softly when a small splash hit him, and she allowed herself a tiny giggle in return. It was a sound that reminded him of why he did what he did, to bring back hope, to restore what was lost. When they finished, Kieran handed her a clean shirt and pants from his pack. They were simple, worn, and patched in several places, but they were clean. Leora took them with wide eyes and slipped them on carefully. For the first time in what felt like forever, she felt a small sense of dignity. The dirt and grime that had hidden her from the world were gone, replaced by something she could call her own. "You look different," Kieran said, smiling. "You look like Leora." She repeated the name again, more confidently this time. "Leora," she said. It felt right. Kieran wasn't done yet. He had more to offer and he wanted her to feel safe. "There's a place not far from here," he said. "A small shelter. We can stay there for now. It's warm, safe, and, well, it's yours for as long as you need." Leora hesitated. Trust did not come easily. But Kieran didn't push. He simply waited, giving her the choice. After a long moment, she nodded. Together, they made their way to the shelter, navigating the ruins with care. Along the way, Kieran shared stories about survival, about how people could rebuild and care for each other. Leora listened intently, absorbing every word. When they reached the shelter, it was a small, sturdy building, partially hidden behind the ruins. Inside, it smelled faintly of old wood and dry leaves, but it was safe. Kieran showed her the corner where she could rest and handed her a small blanket. "You can sleep here," he said. "No one will bother you." Leora sat down on the blanket, feeling its softness against her newly cleaned clothes. For the first time, she felt something she had never known: safety. Kieran sat nearby, keeping watch but giving her space. The world outside was dangerous, yes, but inside this small space she could breathe. "Thank you," she whispered, looking at him with eyes that glistened. "For everything." "You don't have to thank me," Kieran replied. "You deserve to be seen, Leora. And I'll help you stay that way." For the first time in her life, Leora allowed herself to hope. She had a name, a clean set of clothes, and a safe place to rest. And she had someone who cared. The journey ahead would be long and the world was still harsh, but for now she could simply be. As night fell, Kieran lit a small lantern and handed it to her. "Here," he said. "Light for tonight, keep it close." She held the lantern carefully, watching the flame flicker. It seemed to dance like a small promise. A promise that tomorrow could be better, that she could have a place in the world, that she could be more than the whispers of cruel strangers. And for the first time, Leora believed it. Morning light filtered through cracks in the shelter's walls, painting the floor with streaks of gold. Leora stirred under the blanket, blinking as the world slowly came into focus. For the first time in her memory, she woke up feeling safe. The ruins outside, the dusty streets, the harsh world beyond, they seemed distant, less threatening. Kieran was already awake, organizing supplies for the day. He had gathered some containers of clean water and a few edible plants he had found nearby. He noticed Leora's eyes on him and smiled gently. "Good morning, Leora. Ready for your first lesson in surviving the ruins?" Leora hesitated. Lessons in survival had always been a nightmare in her life. Most people ignored her, called her names, or left her to fend for herself. But Kieran was different. He knelt beside her and handed her a small water flask. "First, hydration," he said. "It keeps your body strong and it helps your mind stay sharp." She took it carefully, drank a little, and nodded. "Okay," she whispered, her voice barely above the soft rustle of the morning wind. "Today," Kieran continued, "we're going to explore the city a little. We'll look for food, water, and maybe, just maybe, someone else who needs help." His eyes sparkled with the kind of hope that had guided him through countless ruins. The streets were quieter in the morning, except for the soft crunch of debris beneath their feet. Kieran guided Leora carefully, teaching her to watch for unstable ground, weak floors, and falling debris. She mimicked his movements, slowly gaining confidence. Her small frame allowed her to move through spaces Kieran couldn't reach easily, and together they made a perfect team. As they turned a corner, Leora froze. A pile of metal scraps blocked the path, and beyond it she could see movement. A small, robotic scavenger, likely left from the old world, scuttled across the street, picking through debris. Its metal limbs clicked and whirred as it worked. "Don't worry," Kieran whispered. "It won't hurt you. They're programmed to gather, not attack." Leora nodded but watched carefully. Her fingers clutched Kieran's sleeve as if seeking reassurance. Together, they skirted the robot, letting it continue its work. "See," Kieran said softly, "not everything in the ruins is dangerous. Some things just exist, trying to do their job." Further down the street, they found a small garden of edible plants, surprisingly thriving in a patch of sunlight. Kieran knelt to inspect them. "These are safe to eat," he said. "We'll take a few for now, and later I'll show you how to grow more." He handed some leaves to Leora. She nibbled cautiously, then smiled at the taste. It was fresh, clean, and alive, a stark contrast to the dry, lifeless streets she had wandered before. The day passed with small victories. Kieran taught her how to identify clean water from murky puddles, how to move quietly to avoid attracting danger, and how to use scraps of metal and cloth to make tools. Leora absorbed every lesson eagerly, realizing that she had the ability to survive, and even thrive if someone guided her. But the ruins held challenges beyond the ordinary. As afternoon approached, a low rumble echoed through the streets. Kieran froze. "Stay close," he said, his eyes scanning the horizon. Dust and debris shook as something large moved nearby. Leora's eyes widened in fear. From the shadows emerged a massive shadow, a drone designed for city cleanup long ago. Its metal frame was dented and scratched, but it still functioned. Its sensors swept the streets, searching for movement. Leora hid instinctively behind Kieran, trembling. Kieran whispered, "We need to stay calm. You can do this. Watch me." He moved slowly, keeping low, using broken walls as cover. Leora followed, heart pounding but mimicking his movements exactly. Step by step, they passed the drone without being detected. It was tense, frightening, and thrilling, a real test of everything Kieran had taught her that morning. When they finally reached safety, Leora exhaled a shaky breath. I did it," she whispered, disbelief in her voice. "Yes," Kieran said proudly, "you did it. You stayed calm, you thought clearly, and you followed instructions. That's what being human is about, adapting, learning, and never giving up." Her small chest rose and fell as she processed his words. For the first time, she realized she was capable. She wasn't just a scared, dirty girl wandering alone in the ruins. She could face challenges, survive, and even help others. They rested in a hidden alcove while Kieran shared a simple meal of plants and purified water. Leora ate slowly, savoring each bite. "I've never eaten food like this before," she said softly. "It's nice." "That's because you're learning to live, not just survive," Kieran replied. "Life is more than just existing. It's about growing, exploring, and helping each other." As the sun began to set, Kieran noticed something glimmering in the distance. A small group of children, lost, frightened, and dirty like Leora had been, wandered near the edge of the city. Leora's eyes widened. She instinctively took a step forward, then froze. "They need help," she said quietly. "Yes," Kieran said, his voice gentle. "And we can give it to them, but we have to be smart. We can't just run out there blindly." He outlined a plan, teaching Leora how to approach the group slowly, offering water and food and earning their trust. The lesson was clear. Kindness was important, but so was patience, strategy, and safety. Together, they moved closer to the children, and Leora felt a strange warmth in her chest. She wanted to help. She wanted to protect. She wanted to give them a chance at life, just as Kieran had given her. As they approached, one of the children noticed them and stepped forward, curiosity mixed with fear in his eyes. Leora smiled gently, extending a hand. "Hi, my name is Leora," she said. "This is Kieran. We can help you." The child hesitated, then slowly moved closer. One by one, the others followed. Kieran watched proudly as Leora guided them, her confidence growing with every step. She had learned the power of humanity, to care, to protect, and to act with kindness, even when the world seemed harsh. By the time night fell, the small group of children was gathered safely in the shelter. Kieran looked at Leora with pride. "You did all of this," he said. "You led them, you gave them hope." Leora smiled shyly, still overwhelmed by the day's events. I just remembered what you taught me, she said, and I wanted to help them like you helped me. Kieran nodded. That's what humans do best. We look out for each other. We adapt, we survive, and we lift others up along the way. You're already showing that, Leora. That night, as the children slept safely under blankets, Leora sat by the fire with Kieran. She held her lantern, watching the small flame flicker. It was more than light, it was hope. And for the first time, she felt she had a place in the world, a purpose, and a connection that went beyond survival. Tomorrow, she would face more challenges. The ruins were dangerous, and there were mysteries still to uncover. But tonight, she allowed herself to feel proud. She had survived her first true test. She had learned, adapted, and helped others. And in doing so, she had taken the first steps toward becoming someone remarkable, not just a survivor, but a human capable of shaping the world around her. Morning arrived quietly, painting the ruins in shades of gold and gray. Leora woke to the sounds of children stirring, their soft whispers and rustling movements filling the shelter. She stretched and glanced around, realizing that the small group she had helped last night now depended on her guidance as much as she still depended on Kieran's support. Kieran was already outside, inspecting the perimeter. "Good morning, Leora," he called. "Today we face something new. The city beyond these walls isn't just ruins, it's full of surprises, some good, some tricky." Leora nodded, a mix of excitement and nervousness rising in her chest. She had survived the first day, helped others, and learned how to move carefully through danger. But today, Kieran said, would test all of her skills. They gathered the children and explained the plan. "We need to gather more food and clean water," Kieran said. "There's a safe path to the river, but we have to stick together. No one wanders off." The group followed Leora and Kieran through the broken streets. Leora noticed how much stronger she felt today. Her legs moved quickly over uneven ground, her eyes scanned for trouble, and her mind thought ahead. She had learned to observe, to predict, and to act with care. Halfway to the river, they encountered a new challenge, a collapsed bridge over a small chasm. The bridge's planks were broken and rotten, and beneath it lay jagged rocks. The children froze, afraid to cross. Kieran knelt beside them. "We can get across safely," he said, "but we have to be careful. Leora, you take the lead." Leora felt her stomach tighten, but she stepped forward. She remembered Kieran's lessons, slow movements, watching for weakness, balancing carefully. One plank at a time she crossed, keeping low and steady. When she reached the other side, she turned back and called, "It's safe." One at a time, the children followed, hesitating at first, then trusting her guidance. Kieran helped the smaller ones, holding their hands as they moved across. Leora felt a surge of pride. She had led them through danger, and they had listened. She was no longer just a survivor. She was a leader in the making. After the bridge, the path opened to a small clearing where wild fruit trees had survived. Leora and the children began picking fruit carefully, making sure to leave enough for others and not damage the trees. Kieran smiled. "Good work, see. Humans can find life even in forgotten places." As they rested and ate, a faint hum reached their ears. It grew louder, a mechanical whirring unlike anything Leora had encountered before. From the shadows emerged a maintenance drone, larger and more advanced than the one they had seen before. It was designed to patrol the city, detecting anything unusual. Its metal limbs clinked with precision, and its sensors scanned the area. "Stay calm," Kieran whispered. "These drones respond to movement, not noise. We'll move slowly together." Leora nodded, recalling the bridge crossing. She guided the children behind trees and bushes, crouching low. Kieran led the way, and the group moved like shadows, careful not to attract attention. The drone paused near a pile of scrap metal, its sensors scanning the ground. Leora froze, her heart pounding. The children pressed close to her, trusting her. One small step at a time, they moved past, holding their breath. When the drone finally moved away, Leora let out a quiet sigh of relief. "We did it," she whispered. "Yes," Kieran said, pride in his eyes. "You stayed calm. You kept the group safe. That's the difference between fear and action." By midday, they reached the river. Clean, fresh water sparkled under the sunlight, a stark contrast to the dusty ruins. Kieran handed out flasks and showed the children how to fill them safely. Leora watched carefully, remembering her first lesson. She felt the warmth of success and the satisfaction of helping others. But the day wasn't over. As they prepared to return to the shelter, the sky darkened with fast-moving clouds. A sudden storm approached, sending rain and wind across the city. Kieran's eyes widened. "We need to move fast back to shelter." The path back was slippery and treacherous. Leora held the hands of the smaller children, guiding them with care. One child slipped on wet rocks, but Leora steadied him. "It's okay," she said gently. "We can do this." The storm intensified. Rain poured down, soaking them and making every step dangerous. Leora focused on the path, remembering all Kieran had taught her about staying calm, observing danger and acting carefully. Her confidence grew with every step. She realized she had changed from the scared, lonely girl she had been into someone capable of facing challenges head-on. Finally, they reached the shelter, soaked and muddy but safe. Kieran helped the children inside, lighting a small fire to warm them. Leora sat by the fire, drying her hands and clothes as best as she could. She felt exhausted but alive. Kieran looked at her with admiration. "Leora, today you led. You kept people safe, made decisions, and stayed calm under pressure. That's what makes humans remarkable." She smiled shyly, warmth spreading through her chest. I just wanted to help," she said softly. "And that," Kieran replied, "is exactly why humans are special. We care, we think, we act. You didn't just survive today, you made life better for others." That night, as the rain continued to patter against the roof, Leora lay awake thinking about everything that had happened. She remembered the children's eyes, filled with hope and trust. She remembered the bridge, the drone, the river, and the storm. Each challenge had tested her courage, patience, and intelligence, and each time she had risen to meet it. She realized something important. The ruins were not just a place of danger, they were a place of opportunity. With knowledge, patience, and courage, she could help others, explore the city, and maybe even uncover the secrets left behind by the old world. Tomorrow, she would continue her journey. More challenges awaited, more people might need help, and more discoveries were to be made. But she no longer feared the ruins. She had a name, a purpose, friends who trusted her, and a guide who believed in her. And that was enough to face anything. Morning broke slowly over the ruins, painting the shattered streets in soft shades of gold. Leora stood at the edge of the shelter, looking out at the city beyond. The storm from yesterday had washed the dust from the streets, leaving everything sparkling wet. She felt stronger today, braver, and more certain of her purpose. Kieran appeared beside her carrying a small satchel of supplies. "Ready for the next challenge?" he asked, his eyes twinkling. Leora nodded. "Yes," she said confidently. She felt a thrill of anticipation, not fear. The city had become a place of learning, of growth, and of discovery. Every corner held a lesson, every ruin building a chance to explore. Today, Kieran explained, they would venture into the heart of the old city, where few humans had dared to go. Rumors told of a hidden storage facility, untouched for decades, possibly containing clean water, food supplies, or even useful technology. "Why go there?" Leora asked. "Because," Kieran said, "the humans who came before us left things behind. Some of it can help people survive. Some of it can help people thrive, and it's up to us to find it carefully." They set off with the children following close behind. The streets were littered with obstacles, fallen walls, rusted vehicles, and deep cracks in the ground. But Leora had grown confident. She led the group skillfully, pointing out hazards and finding the safest paths. The children trusted her completely, and even Kieran looked impressed. As they approached the city's center, they noticed something unusual. A faint green glow emanated from a collapsed building, flickering through the broken windows. "That's our target," Kieran whispered. "The storage facility is inside, but we need to be careful, it may be unstable." Leora felt her heart beat faster. This was the moment she had been preparing for. Every lesson, every challenge, every step she had taken had led to this. The entrance was partially blocked by rubble. Kieran and Leora worked together, using levers and scraps of metal to lift heavy pieces just enough to create a narrow passage. The children watched, wide-eyed, learning from their example. Inside, the building was dark, the air heavy with dust. Leora's eyes adjusted slowly and she gasped. Shelves lined the walls, still stocked with supplies: canned food, clean water, medical kits, and even tools left behind by humans long gone. This is amazing," Leora whispered. She could feel the excitement of discovery pulsing through her. "Yes," Kieran said, "and it's ours to share. We'll use this to help anyone who comes to the ruins. Humanity left it behind for a reason. Now it's our turn to continue their work." But just as they began gathering supplies, the building shuddered. A small tremor rocked the floor and dust fell from the ceiling. Leora realized the structure was unstable. "We need to move carefully," she warned. "If we're not careful, it could collapse." They worked together, gathering as much as they could safely carry. Leora helped the children move supplies in small batches, teaching them how to balance weight and avoid dangerous spots. The sense of teamwork was electric. Everyone had a role and everyone mattered. Suddenly, a loud crack echoed through the room. A section of the ceiling began to fall. Leora's instincts kicked in. "Everyone follow me," she shouted. She led the group toward a safer corner, moving swiftly and decisively. Kieran brought up the rear, ensuring no one was left behind. They reached an open doorway just as a heavy beam crashed where they had been moments before. Leora's heart pounded, but she remained calm. Breathless but safe, the group looked at each other and laughed nervously. The thrill of danger mixed with the excitement of discovery. Leora realized that she had not only survived the ruins but had learned to lead, to protect, and to inspire others. They spent the rest of the day organizing the supplies. Leora and Kieran set up a system: clean water in one corner, food in another, tools neatly stacked. The children helped, learning not only how to handle items carefully but also the importance of planning and teamwork. By evening, the shelter was transformed. It was no longer just a place to hide from danger. It was a hub of hope, a center where humans could survive and thrive. Leora looked around at the children, smiling faces illuminated by lantern light. She felt a warmth she had never known before, the feeling of belonging, of purpose, of making a real difference. Kieran approached her, placing a hand on her shoulder. "Leora, you've grown so much. From the girl I found in the ruins to the leader you are now, I'm proud of you." Leora blushed, but her smile was radiant. "I learned from you," she said, "and from the children. They needed me and I wanted to help." "That's the human way," Kieran said. "We care, we guide, we protect, and sometimes we discover strengths we didn't know we had." As night fell, the group gathered around a small fire. Leora sat close to Kieran, thinking about everything that had happened. The bath that gave her dignity, the lessons that taught her survival, the challenges that tested her courage, and the discoveries that showed her purpose. She realized that being human was not just about surviving. It was about learning, helping others, and using intelligence and empathy to shape the world. And now, she knew she could face anything the ruins, or life itself, might throw at her. Before sleeping, Leora took out a small piece of cloth from her pack, a keepsake from the first day she had met Kieran. She tied it around her wrist, a symbol of trust, hope, and growth. Tomorrow, she thought, they would continue exploring. There were still secrets in the ruins, people who needed help, and lessons yet to learn. But tonight, she allowed herself to feel proud. She had a name. She had friends, she had a safe place, and she had purpose. For the first time in her life, Leora understood the meaning of being human. It was more than surviving. It was about shaping the future, helping others, and rising to every challenge with courage and kindness. And in the ruins of a forgotten city, with a small group of children looking up to her, Leora finally felt at home. The light of the fire flickered, casting shadows on the walls of the shelter. Outside, the ruins remained vast and silent, waiting to test them again. But Leora no longer feared them. She had discovered her strength, her heart, and her role in the world. She closed her eyes and smiled. Tomorrow, humanity's story in the ruins would continue, and she would be a part of it. They called her too dirty to touch, but the human gave her a bath, a name, and a place in his bed.